Hey gamers, have you ever paused mid-game and wondered if you're truly getting the ultimate gaming experience? It all boils down to one critical component, the GPU. Today I've put together an all-in-depth analysis of the creme de la creme of gaming GPUs out there and compared the most popular graphics cards to bring you the definitive list of the best GPUs for gaming this year. My commitment? To bring you honest, reliable insights so that you make an informed choice. Whether you're on a budget or looking to splurge, stick around for some game-changing recommendations. Price information and all GPUs mentioned in the video are available in the description. So let's get started. Number 3, Sapphire Pulse RX 6700 XT, best budget gaming GPU. The Sapphire Pulse RX 6700 XT was my choice for the best budget GPU for 1440p gaming, and that makes it also my top budget choice for gaming in general. The demand for a powerful GPU near the $300 price point that is decent for 1440p gaming is now higher than ever before. The AMD RX 6700 XT is a graphics card that has stepped up as the budget champion for 1440p gaming, especially now that it is consistently available for around $300 to $350. The Sapphire Pulse RX 6700 XT is the most affordable RX 6700 XT, but is not just on the cheaper side. It is also one of the highest quality RX 6700 XTs thanks to its full array aluminum heatsinks and requires a standard 8-pin and 6-pin PCIe connector for power. In the looks department, it doesn't go for anything fancy. The dark gray aesthetic easily fits in with any PC setup, but it won't impress anyone. What's great, except that it's the cheapest RX 6700 XT out there, is that even with only 2 fans, it does a great job at keeping temperatures around the mid-60s to low 70s degrees Celsius, even during long gaming sessions. However, to save some money, Sapphire did not include any RGB and went with plastic for the fan cover instead of metal. Thankfully, the shroud is hard plastic, which is strong enough to withstand any light damage that cheaper plastics cannot handle. The backplate is also made of plastic. It offers no cooling to the VRMs on the back of the PCB. Overall, the build of the card is decent and gets the job done, but I would advise extra care when handling it. Looking at the specs, the RX 6700 XT is paired with a 12GB VRAM buffer that is connected to a 192-bit bus. The 192-bit bus may be an area of concern, especially since you need a wider bus width to accommodate higher resolutions. However, thanks to the massive 96MB L3 cache that AMD calls Infinity Cache, the resultant bandwidth is an impressive 384.0 gigabytes per second. In terms of performance, the 6700 XT can easily run AAA games like Doom Eternal, The Last of Us, The Witcher 3, Remnant 2, and Elden Ring at 1440p resolution and give you 60 plus frames per second in all of these titles. Only the most demanding games like Cyberpunk 2077 will run at 1440p with around 40 frames per second, so you'll need FSR to increase the frame rate above 60 frames per second. Any esports title will have no issue running at 120 frames per second or higher even at maximum visual settings. That means even 240 frames per second gaming is possible at medium or higher settings in games like Counter-Strike, Dota 2, League of Legends, Valorant, and Rainbow Six Siege. If we take a look at the direct competition with the RX 6700 XT, NVIDIA has the RTX 4060 Ti, Intel has the ARC A770, and AMD the newer RX 7600. All of these GPUs perform very well at 1440p, but where the RX 6700 XT shines is that it is really balanced in terms of specifications. Except for the ARC A770, the rest have 8GB VRAM connected to a narrow 128-bit bus. The A770 is impressive in terms of specs, but Intel has some serious work to do with their drivers. In conclusion, if you need a GPU that perform on par and last as long as the Sony PlayStation 5 for excellent 1440p gaming and is affordable, the RX 6700 XT is the obvious choice. Our rating for PCB design is 8 out of 10. Aesthetics and cooler design, 7 out of 10. Value for money, 9 out of 10, for an overall rating of 8 out of 10. Number 2, MSI Supreme Liquid X RTX 4090, best premium GPU for gaming. The RTX 4090 is the best gaming GPU in the world, and I don't think that it needs more of a fitting introduction than that. While AMD's RX 6900 XT and NVIDIA's RTX 3090 were neck and neck in the previous generation, NVIDIA decided to keep the performance crown for themselves this time. There are so many great variants of the RTX 4090, including the Founders Edition by NVIDIA, but my choice for the best RTX 4090 in terms of value is the MSI Supreme Liquid X GeForce RTX 4090. In testing, the MSI Supreme Liquid X GeForce RTX 4090 is the best performer out of all of the RTX 4090s available, seconded by the RTX 4090 Matrix by Asus. However, Asus does not have a significant lead over MSI's 4090, and it also also costs north $3,000, making it too expensive even for enthusiasts. The RTX 4090 is already an expansive GPU with a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $1,600, while other brands releasing almost $2,000 RTX 4090s. This is exactly why the $1,700 price by MSI surprises me, because it is one of the best RTX 4090 I have tested, yet is also one of the least expensive. Thanks to the Hybrid Air and AIO, the MSI Supreme Liquid X GeForce RTX 4090 is perfect for anyone already planning to liquid cool their RTX 4090. Custom liquid cooling solutions can be really expensive and require a lot of patience and skill to set up correctly. Not to mention, a custom loop also introduces risks of water damage if you don't know what you're doing. The other great thing about having an AIO dedicated to the GPU is that it doesn't need to share the same cooler with the CPU as in a custom loop. The card has a sleek, professional design and it's entirely constructed from metal, even the backplate. It comes equipped with a 240mm AIO cooler for the GPU core and VRAM, making the remaining card just a small dual slot with a fan for the PCB. As a result, the card typically remains at a cool 50 degrees Celsius during extended gaming or productivity sessions. These low temperatures indicate that the cooler is very good at dissipating a lot of heat. Given the RTX 4090's 450-watt TDP, any PC case housing this GPU should have excellent exhaust to ensure everything else in the PC stays cool. Looking at the specs, the RTX 4090 is paired with a 24GB GDDR6X VRAM buffer that is connected to a 384-bit bus. The 4090 has a massive 72MB L2 cache, which combined with the 384-bit bus yields an unprecedented 1008GB per second of bandwidth. This is the reason why many professionals have also turned to the RTX 4090 for their bandwidth-hungry applications like artificial intelligence research and 8K video editing, instead of getting NVIDIA or AMD's professional-grade Quadro or Fire Pro cards. In terms of performance, simply put, any game on it will fly. The RTX 4090 can run even the most demanding games like Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty at 4K maximum settings at around 70 frames per second. You can even play games like Doom Eternal at 8K max settings at 60 plus frames per second, or Red Dead Redemption 2 at 8K high settings at 60 plus frames per second. The 4090 wants to be challenged, and thanks to technologies like DLSS, upscaling, and ray construction, the quality of games is also unmatched. Any esports title will have no issue running at 200 frames per second or higher, even at 4K ultra setting. That means even 4K 240 frames per second gaming is possible at high settings in games like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, PUBG, Valorant, League of Legends, Apex Legends, and Rainbow Six Siege. If we take a look at the direct competition, there simply isn't any. This is not to exaggerate the RTX 4090's position in any way, because AMD does not have a GPU this generation that directly challenges the RTX 4090. As mentioned earlier, any benchmark that shows the AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX closing the gap against the RTX 4090 is due to the fact that the current AMD 7000 and Intel 13th Gen CPUs are becoming the bottleneck for the RTX 4090. This means that the RTX 4090 is so fast that until AMD and Intel release more powerful CPUs, we won't see the full gaming potential of the RTX 4090. I guess my final nitpick would be that there are just too few ports for what is considered the best graphics card in the world. This card definitely needs more than just 3 display ports and an HDMI port. Regardless, if you need the absolute best gaming GPU, then there is no other option than the RTX 4090, as it has a massive lead over every other GPU. The MSI Supreme Liquid X does not have only the best cooler, but it is also one of the best RTX 4090s in terms of build quality. It will serve anyone for a very long time, whether it be for gaming or professional work. Our rating for PCB design is 9 out of 10. Aesthetics and cooler design, 9 out of 10. Value for money, 7 out of 10, for an overall rating of 8.5 out of 10. Number 1, Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 7800 XT, our top choice. For my number 1 spot, there were a lot of candidates for this generation and the last generation from all 3 GPU manufacturers, AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA. We are seeking tremendous competition and value at the $500 price point. Although I could have picked any card, the RX 7800 XT stood out as my final choice for anyone looking to buy the best overall value GPU for now and for many years to come. The RX 7800 XT is the best value new generation GPU released yet from either NVIDIA or AMD, and the specs and performance show for it. VRAM is one area that has become quite a concern for gamers, as 10GB is barely cutting it for 1440p gaming these days. Thankfully, AMD has equipped the RX 7800 XT with 16GB of GDDR6 VRAM, so even the highest quality assets can easily be loaded without any performance loss. Also, over the past few generations of GPUs, I have noticed that bus widths have started to shrink to make the GPUs more energy efficient. And while the 256-bit bus on the 7800 XT looks narrow, both AMD and NVIDIA have increased L2 or L3 caches on their GPUs to compensate for this exact concern. Thanks to the substantially bigger L3 cache and fast GDDR6 speeds, the RX 7800 XT has an impressive 624.1 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. Taking a look at the Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 7800 XT, it is a massive 3-slot card with a triple fan configuration. The Sapphire Nitro Plus cards have one of the smartest fan designs because they are easy to remove in case you need to clean or replace them. The entire PCB is cooled with a full array aluminum vapor chamber and a massive RGB strip on the top of the card, which may be a tad flashy for some people. Taking a deeper look at the PCB and cooler itself, the Sapphire Nitro Plus 7900 XTX stays cool at sub 60 degrees Celsius temperatures. The PCB has fuses that protect the entire card in case of a power surge that could potentially destroy it. When compared to the RTX 4070 for gaming, the RX 7800 XT offers slightly better performance for around $100 less. Even the heavy titles like The Last of Us, Hogwarts Legacy, and Cyberpunk 2077, the RX 7800 XT can give 60 plus frames per second at 1440p maximum settings. It will lose to the RTX 4070 when ray tracing is turned on, because NVIDIA has a clear advantage in that regard. Still, AMD is improving on that end, and RDNA 3 based GPUs offer a massive improvement in ray tracing compared to RDNA 2. The RX 7800 XT is also the perfect choice if you want to play esports titles at 1440p 144Hz or higher. The card has 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM, which means that if it came down to needing more VRAM, the RTX 4070 with 12 gigabytes VRAM would start to struggle and would require reducing settings to compensate. RX 7800 XT is very high quality card, and it's hard to criticize Sapphire in any way for its excellent cooler. My only nitpick is that compared to the reference design by AMD, it is a significantly larger card, and instead of taking advantage of the size, Sapphire did not add more ports at the back. Even one more HDMI port would have been great. In conclusion, if you need the best overall GPU for gaming, then there is no better deal than the AMD RX 7800 XT, and Sapphire's Nitro Plus is the best variant in the market. Our rating for PCB design is 9.5 out of 10. Aesthetics and cooler design, 8.5 out of 10. Value for money, 8.5 out of 10, for an overall rating of 9 out of 10.